What's up, guys? Welcome back. Okay, so sorry, this is probably a video that should have come out a little bit earlier, but I am going to talk about the Leos. And if you have not decided on which Leo you want to make, then this should help. If you have decided on which one you want to make, maybe this will help with your decision on the second one. So, we do have the new Super Evolution for Leo, and he looks really good. I really like the the regular color. I'm not a huge fan of the variant. I don't think. I feel like for some reason a lot of times the variant colors look a little bit washed out, and that kind of has really occurred for me, in my opinion, with the fire one in particular. I like the style, like what they did with him. They really made our male Astromon look really manly, I think, and the Leos especially. But I'm not a huge fan of the color scheme for the variant fire one. I do like the the non-variant coloring. I think it's really vibrant. But the super evolutions, I think, look really good for both the Leonore and the Leon. And I'm really glad that we do have that they are instituting more of the male super evos out there. So just to get into the skill sets, I'm just going to do this in just the order that they give us. So the order I talk about the Leos is not going to be my ranking order for the ones that I think are the best ones to make, but they will be they're just really going to be the order in which they list Astromon in our Astro Guide. And then at the end, I'm going to kind of talk about the ones that I'll give you a ranking of my suggestion of the ones you might want to build initially, and ones that you might want to avoid, but initially we're going to talk about their skills. So in order of our Astro Guide, the Fire Leonore Leo. So Fire Leo is probably one of the staples for an early fire damage dealer. So the people who played earlier in the game, and this might not be as much of an issue now, but earlier in the game there feels to be like a little bit of a deficit when it comes to, and this was in the past, and I don't know what it is like right now, but earlier game there was a deficit when it came to fire damage dealers. And the Fire Leo, once people kind of got the Fire Leo, that kind of helped people who are having difficulty with beating wood stages get past those wood stages with the Fire Leo. He does have 2 hunter skills, which is why the Fire Leo is definitely was initially considered a very OP fire monster. He has really good attack, and he's got, all Leos have one of the best variant skills that are out there. So if you make a variant Leo, it's hard to go wrong with using him wherever you need an HP boost. Now this guy, of course, since he's a damage dealer, you're going to need to build a lot of damage on him, and unfortunately he's one of the monsters, because he has hunter, he's one of the monsters that needs to have a square. So you do not build a Fire Leo that does not have a square, guys. Just don't do it. It makes it entirely too hard to raise their crit rate. So if you pick one, don't build one until you have a Fire Leo with a square. And then when you build him, you need to make sure you have very good substats on crit rate substats on all of his gems when you get them on him, in addition to the square crit rate gem. And because he's hunter dependent, he needs to be at 100% crit, because every time he fails, you can go lower, but every time he fails, you're not making any use of his skill sets. The Fire Leo I have right now is not on 100% crit, but I don't use him that much. If you're relying on him to be a fire damage dealer, you want to get his crit rate as high as possible, otherwise it's useless pretty much. So that's Fire Leo, guys. So next we're going to talk a little bit about Water Leo. So this is just an order of the Astro Guide. Water Leo is going to be the lowest priority Leo on your list. There might be a few people who can use him fairly decently in PvP, but there are just so many other good options that there's really no. Maybe with the stat boost, people will reconsider him, but I don't see that being a big thing. So I wouldn't even worry about him. I have an Evo 3 one, but that's just because they ran a Evo 3 event early, like the first year of the game, and to get a Water Leo, and I happened to have an Evo 2 one at the time, and I didn't have the Yuki. So that's why I have an Evo 3 one, and he does not get used. So the next Leo we're going to talk about is the Wood Leo. So Wood Leo is also very good. Wood Leo has always had a place in PvP. His leader skill is excellent for PvP defense and PvP/CVC. You know, both of them are pretty much the same. So, you know, the Wood Leo has always been a favorite early game to build, and even mid game. So he's more of an early to mid game PvP defense monster. A lot of people, eventually people will, if they like having the def break and the attack down and the good leader skill, they kind of replace him with like a Fire Odin. But, you know, there are a few other defense teams out there right now, but he is a decent defense monster for PvP, and he also has the additional use in being a very good monster to throw into a Water Titans team. So he does have two uses, which is a hallmark of a very good monster, is where you can actually use him in two places. And the Fire one too, you know, the Fire is a decent damage dealer. He's got he's got the same variant skill, so he's a good monster for, you know, damage in Titans. But the issue with Fire is, since he is a damage dealer, he gets outclassed in Titans by any Fire CS monster that you have. So you know, and there are a lot of Fire CS monsters that roll around periodically. But yeah. Okay, so to move on to our light dark. So the light and dark Leo are both actually really good. You know, I think the Leos are probably one of the only monsters that, there are very few monsters that are like this, but literally 4 out of 5 of his colors have a decent use in the game. And both light and dark are very useful, so that you don't even have to pick which one you want, because you can pretty much use them, you know, in some area of the game. They're both very good. Neither of them are terrible. So for example, a lot of people like using Light Leo in PvP offense. Some people like to use him in PvP defense, but because he's got a 50% moral boost, he generally gets his stun up very quickly. And for some reason, even though he's only got a 50% stun, the Light Leo seems to proc his stun, I don't know, 90% of the time, even though it says 50%. But yeah, you people who have the Light Leo probably know better than I do. I've used him on a friend's account, but yeah, he's a really good stunner. Now it is a little bit weird that he's considered an attacker. They marked him as an attacker. I feel since he's more of a status effector, he probably would have done better, either being, you know, a little bit tankier, as opposed to being a straight up attacker. But you can build him however you want. I would not personally. I wouldn't go full on attack. I wouldn't make him too squishy, because I would rely on him to be a stunner. But you know, build them however you want. You know, now the dark one is pretty decent. I have seen people who get pretty high up in PvP at the end of the week, who use him on their offense team. So you can work him into your offense team. He's an attacker. He's a dark monster, so you can build him on crit, and he's got a good he's got like 100% attack down. So you can do decent damage, proc and attack down on the monster, and you know, you can just work him into your PvP offense team. Now at this point in the game, there might be better options on PvP offense than building him, but there are people who have used him in PvP offense just fine. Now, and if you stop using him in your PvP offense, the alternative is you can throw him into any Titans team, because attack down is generally needed for pretty much all Titans. Now, the Dark one does suffer from a lackluster 5-star skill. So Silence is one of those skills that is not as useful as a number of other skills, because first of all, you can only use it against another player. It really does nothing pretty much on boss levels and golems or anything like that. So it generally only has its place in PvP. So yeah, guys, with that, I will give you a ranking. Now, the thing about rankings is that not everyone has the light and dark Leos. So I'm going to give you my top RGB Leo, and then I'm going to give you my top suggestion for light versus dark Leo. And you can kind of fit that into wherever you want. So RGB Leos, definitely, I think the highest priority Leo for the RGBs is going to be the wood one. Number one, he's definitely extremely easy to build for anyone. You don't have to build him on crit. You can use him in a number of different places that I talked about. Just a definitely very easy monster to recommend. Second, of course, for RGB is going to be fire, but we have to remember he is going to be difficult to build. But if you just need a fire damage dealer because you're early in the game, you can just kind of use him a little bit. Probably not something you'll super evo until much later in the game as kind of like a trophy. But and then water, don't bother unless you're the kind of person that just wants to fill your Astro Guide. And then so the light and dark, personally I like the light more. Dark can be useful. He's probably not quite as useful as he used to be earlier in the game, but light definitely has his place. So yeah, guys, that's all I have for you today. Sorry that this video is late and kind of comes after the festival. I did record it earlier, but you guys see it's coming out a little bit late. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not, and I will see you next time.